everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to be talking about business today. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the lessons that I learned from a couple companies that I spent quality time at. But to help frame up this conversation, I need to make sure that we all know something. And that something is that I don't care what size your business is, if it's small or if it's big, at some point or at some points in its existence, it is going to come across the growth paradox. The growth paradox simply states, the smaller you are, the bigger you must look. Meaning, a small business must look bigger in customers' eyes. However, a funny thing happens. By the time a small business becomes a big business, it's time for it to act small again. And that's where the flip side of the paradox comes into play. It says, the bigger you are, the smaller you must get. At some point in time, a big business needs to rekindle its roots when it was a small business, when it was an aspiring business, when it had more personal connections with customers. At the company that I spent quite a bit of time with back in the 90s and in the 2000s, it was on the mind of Howard Schultz. And Howard Schultz used to ask this question, how can Starbucks get big but stay small? And we know in this last couple of years, the economy hasn't been as robust as it has been in the past. We know that the once flying Starbucks has had to face this growth paradox head on. And in the process, Howard has learned something. And he's been quoted recently as saying that success is not sustainable if it is defined by how big you become or by growth for growth's sake. And that's important for us to learn. Because we know that Starbucks, the growth story is phenomenal. We've all heard about this. But there's a different side of the story that we might not really know a lot about. And it goes for the point that Starbucks did not grow by making one big decision. In fact, I know of virtually no company that grew to become sustainably successful by making one big decision. No, Starbucks grew by making a series of small decisions. Every successful company grows by making a series of small decisions. For Starbucks, the first small decision, when they began back in 1971, they sold roasted coffee, whole bean coffee that is, loose leaf tea, and spices. Their first small decision was to sell brewed coffee. You can't call that a big decision. It was a small decision. Next up, they decided to add milk to coffee, thus selling lattes and cappuccinos. They also made the small decision to make their stores a comfortable experience so that people could relax. And they made the small decision to serve coffee cold. Again, it wasn't one big decision that helped grow and make Starbucks a global success. It was a series of small decisions. And so the big idea I have for us today, when we're thinking about business, as well as maybe our personal lives, is this idea of make small decisions. Make small decisions. I suggest you start by making these 4 decisions. First decision is decide to be unique. If you're a business or if you're promoting your personal brand, decide to be unique. Michael Porter, business strategist, professor, plays along these lines when he's quoted as saying, there is no best car company out there because there is no best car. You're really competing to be unique. Think about the business you're in. There is no best business at whatever you are doing. You are all trying to compete to be unique. Look at this car. Nissan Cube. Yeah, this is by no means the best car, right? No. However, it is one of the most unique cars. I don't care what angle you look at it from, it's ugly. It is. But in being ugly, you know what it does? It earns opinions. Some people love it, some people hate it. Nissan has confidence more people are going to love that car than hate that car. Nissan believes this thought, that to win a customer, you must first be willing to lose a customer. Sit on that for a second. To win a customer, you must first be willing to lose a customer. What I mean clearly here is that you must set yourself out there, being as unique as you possibly can be, knowing full well your uniqueness is going to repel some and attract some. Again, you just need to have confidence. Your business, how you do business, is going to attract more people than it doesn't attract. Starbucks is the same way. We all know that when we first had that cup of Starbucks coffee, for most of us, it was too bitter, too bold, too dark. Still, people today think Starbucks coffee tastes bitter and too burnt. They were unique in bringing a different taste of coffee to market. Now, along this line, to be unique, it's just not good enough to be unique. You also need to decide to be obvious in how you're going to show your uniqueness. Don't hide the fact that you're unique. Be obvious about it. And unfortunately, there is no recipe for originality. There isn't. It can't be, because there's no recipe for being one of a kind. So to be unique, I suggest you follow some advice from a rather offbeat source. Keith Johnstone, improv teacher who, in his book Impro, instructs improvisers, those folks on stage that make something from nothing, no script, but they perform as if they were using a script. He says that when you're on stage, you need to be obvious about what it is you're doing, because the more blatant you are about who you are, the more original you appear. The more blatant the company is about what they stand for, why they deserve to exist, the more obvious they are about that, the more original they appear. We're talking about personality. And there's a donut shop that I think personifies this idea of being obvious about their uniqueness. It's a shop that's in Portland, Oregon. It's called Voodoo Donut. I'm certain some of you have been there. Ah, hand clap, nice. Now, you know you're in for something special when you hear their slogan or their tagline that says, "The magic is in the hole." You know full well they're not going to do donuts like Tim Hortons or Dunkin'. No, not at all. That's their signature donut, folks, the Voodoo Doll Donuts. And yes, that is a pretzel right in the middle. I'm from Texas, so here it is, the big-ass Texas donut. Now, if that doesn't earn opinions, I don't know what does. Actually, I do know what does. That does. The maple, okay, you guffaw, don't guffaw, it's delicious. I'm telling you, it is. But here's the deal, though. The audacity to put 2 slices of bacon atop a donut not only earns my opinion, it earns my dollars. Now, you don't have to be so audacious as to put 2 slices of bacon atop a donut to be obvious about being different. Just call your cup sizes different names. Really. Take whatever you do that's common and make it uncommon. Just do something a little different that earns an opinion. And when you do that, you start to develop a company's personality. And you know, and we know full well, the brands that we are attracted to probably have an obvious and unique personality. Probably a lot of those brands don't have to advertise because the unique personality does the advertising for them. Because it's how they do business not just one day, but every day. The next decision, small decision, that I think more brands that are caught in this growth paradox need to make is they need to decide to be employee-focused. Jack Welch, celebrity, legendary CEO, formerly of GE, has been quoted as saying that HR is a company's true killer app. Because he says, what could possibly be more important than who gets hired, developed, promoted, and moved out the door? There's nothing more important than that, says Jack Welch. And I think it's true. It's true because we in the marketing game design products and programs and services to gain loyal customers. But there is an important piece that's missing in a lot of the programs we do, and that's employees. Because we know that a business with loyal employees will produce loyal customers. There's one thing I learned from my days back at Starbucks is that marketing has 2 audiences, customers and employees. And you can probably go back and look at your company, see your employee turnover rate, and compare that with your customer turnover rate. And I bet you that if you're a company that keeps its employees longer, you're going to probably have more loyal customers. Starbucks, in many ways, keeps its employees longer. And thus, those long employees know a lot about the company that pass it on to customers who, in turn, become loyal customers. The final small decision that I believe businesses need to make if they are small, wanting to look big, or big, needing to get small, is to forget branding strategies and think more about being strategies. I think businesses need to decide to be a business first and a brand second. Any business that does these three things is going to build a brand. Number one, be profitable. Number two, make customers happy. And number three, make employees happy. If you build a business that is profitable, makes customers happy, and makes employees happy, you don't have to worry about branding. Branding will happen. Scott Bedbury sums it up this way. Scott Bedbury was a marketer back at Starbucks in the 1990s. He helped Starbucks to better understand what it had created as far as working in and on its business since 1971. Scott said that the best brands never start out with the intent on building a great brand. No, they don't. The best brands in the world start out deciding to be a business that makes a profit, makes customers happy, and makes employees happy. Because you cannot create a brand before you build a business. No, the process is simultaneous. By spending your time working in and on your business, by deciding some of the decisions we just talked about, what you will do, you will build your business and thus create your brand. Again, this is the idea of deciding to follow being strategies more than following branding strategies. The last bit of advice that I want to give you as you think about making these small decisions is I don't care what decision it is, how small it is, or how big you think it is, be intentional about any and every decision you make. When you find yourself in this growth paradox of being small, needing to look bigger, and being big, needing to get smaller, be intentional about every decision you make because everything matters. Every decision you make ultimately matters. So as you decide, be intentional. Thank you.